Hello everybody, my name is Dratnos and welcome to the Shado-Pan Brewmaster and Windwalker Monk talent tree video. So this is, as a Shado-Pan, learn from your forebears. Forebears, that's good as well because the panda bears. And stand proud against your foes in defense of your friends and family. Bide your time and charge up your power before unleashing an overwhelming flurry of blows to overwhelm your opponents. All right, a little nitpick here. That's not good writing to use the same word twice like that. That's not good, but all good. Let's see how the talent tree is. We have Overwhelming Flurry up at the top that says, dealing damage equal to your maximum health generates a Flurry charge. For each 400 energy you spend, unleash all Flurry charges as Flurry strikes, dealing physical damage per charge. So right off the bat, this is much more synergistic for Windwalker than it is for Brewmaster, right? Because Windwalker is a smaller maximum health pool than Brewmaster, although not by that much. Brewmaster is the lowest max HP tank for good reason because of stagger. But obviously Windwalker has a smaller amount of damage they need to deal to gain a Flurry charge, and they're going to deal more damage than a Brewmaster, except for when Windwalker is really bad. And so they're going to be creating many more Flurry charges than Brewmaster will. Spending 400 energy, I assume, is something that Windwalker also can do faster than Brewmaster, but I think both specs are pretty similar on that front. So, although I'm not sure, I haven't looked into that at all. But either way, you don't actually get more damage out of unleashing these more often, right, necessarily. At least from the top here. There may be stuff further in this tree that does, but if just this node were the only thing here, you wouldn't actually care about whether you proc this once per minute or 4 times per minute, because you're dealing all your Flurry charges as damage eventually anyways, right? So it doesn't really matter if you're doing that every 15 seconds or every minute, right? Now at the bottom here, we have Wisdom of the Wall, which says every 10 Flurry strikes become infused with a Wisdom of the Wall for 20 seconds. So when it says a Wisdom of the Wall, I assume that means you'll get one of these rather than all 4 of these. The options here are your crits deal an additional 30% damage, your Mastery's effect is increased by 25%, Versatility now also increases your dodge and crit by 25% of its effect, and Flurry strikes now deal additional shadow damage to all uncontrolled enemies within 6 yards, which hopefully means, like, oh, it's not going to hit an in-capped target, rather than, like, if it didn't hit stunned targets, for instance, that would suck. But, okay, interesting little effect here. It does kind of create some value as well. Like, if you charge up 30 Flurry charges somehow before proccing them, you know, you're going to be able to get 3 Wisdoms of the Wall. That could be pretty neat. And potentially some value in actually proccing this less often rather than more often. Okay, Pride of Pandaria is one of the choice nodes available here in the top left that says Flurry strikes have 15% additional chance to crit. The other option is High Impact, which says enemies who die within 5 seconds of being damaged by a Flurry strike explode, dealing damage to uncontrolled enemies within 8 yards. Cool. Obviously, Pride of Pandaria is going to be like the default thing that you'll do, especially in Raid, you know, obviously. But High Impact is neat. That is making enemies explode. This is a line of text that, you know, usually you see this in like ARPGs and stuff, not in MMOs. And one of the big benefits, okay, tangent, but one of the big benefits of Explode in games like Path of Exile is that mobs don't do on-death effects if they explode instead of dying. I wonder if that could be true here. Imagine if a mob just didn't bolster or drop Sanguine if it died from High Impact. That would actually be sick. That would be really powerful. I assume it's not going to work like that, because I assume the corpse isn't just going to get destroyed, because then how would you be able to loot it, right? But that would be cool. Controlled Instinct says striking the same target 5 times within 2 seconds grants 2% haste. Now, this is something that like Spinning Crane Kick is going to be able to do. Fist of Fury is going to be able to do. I'm not sure if there's a lot of other easy ways to do this for Brewmaster and Windwalker. Like 5 times within 2 seconds is a lot. I guess you're going to be getting maybe 2 autos in there. And then you also are going to be getting, maybe you can press 3 abilities within 2 seconds because you got a 1 second GCD. So possible, but I think it's mostly going to be off of Spinning Crane Kick or Fist. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it counts like dot ticks as well. Like if your Eye of the Tiger dot or your, you know, Fire Brew thing, Breath of Fire dot counts, then maybe we've got this pretty easily. Multiple instances of this effect may overlap, stacking up to 10 times. So if you're pressing Fist of Fury in AoE or Spinning Crane Kick in AoE, Now all of a sudden, you're striking 7 targets, each of them 5 times within 2 seconds, so you'll get a bunch of haste. Now the problem is, haste is a garbage stat for both Brewmaster and Windwalker, so that is the problem. It doesn't really do anything. Martial Precision says attacks pen. Actually, it's not bad in AoE. Now that I say that, it's not bad in AoE for Windwalker. It's actually not that bad in AoE for Windwalker, but it's pretty much never great for Brewmaster. Martial Precision says attacks penetrate 10% of the target's armor. Interesting. We haven't seen too much armor pen and stuff in WoW for a long time. This will be weird, like if different bosses have different armor values and therefore this kind of effect has a different value on different ones. That would be weird. I wonder how that is going to work out. I think they just have standardized armor values these days, so that I don't think that would happen, but yeah. Protect and Serve says your Vivify always heals you for an additional 30% of its total value. Now, you can play like instant Vivifies every 10 seconds or something on these specs if you want them. And now you'll be able to use them to either heal yourself for more, which will be nice, or heal somebody else and also give you a little bit of healing. I did play instant Vivifies on like Sarkareth when I was playing Brewmaster, and it was nice. It was nice to get some healing for myself when I was like out taking the Sarkareth bombs or downstairs out of range of healers, at 1 HP from my stagger. Is always nice to... Actually, I think you were immune to damage down there, but, I would often go down at low health, and it's nice to be able to come back up top, so that's kind of a cool little bit of value. The default option, though, I suspect is going to be Lead from the Front, which has Chi Burst, Chi Wave, and Expel Harm now leech 20% of damage dealt. Now, these abilities don't do a huge amount of damage, but they do some, and... in a lot of fights, you're never pressing Vivify. A lot of cases, you're never pressing Vivify, so you're going to take something that does some passive value, even if it's a small amount of passive value, rather than amping up an active button that you maybe don't press. So unless you are a Vivify presser, you're just going to take a Lead from the Front. One versus Many says damage dealt by Fist of Fury and Keg Smash count as double towards Flurry Charge generation. That's actually a way to kind of help equalize it a little bit for Brewmaster, because Keg Smash is a high percentage of Brewmaster's damage. And then we're further increasing the damage of Keg Smash by 30% and Fist of Fury by 10%. So, okay. A little bit more Flurry charges there. That's good. Whirling Steel says, when you become injured, summon Whirling Steel, increasing your parry chance and avoidance by 15% for 6 seconds. Now, 15% parry, if this just procs every time you take damage... 15% parry is a lot of parry. Like, that is more than 15% reduced incoming physical damage taken for Brewmasters, because you're already dodging a high percentage of incoming attacks. Now we're adding 15% parry on that remaining incoming damage. Potentially extremely high amounts of damage reduction there. Avoidance, on the other hand, is going to be very valuable for Windwalkers if you're in a raid AoE damage situation. If there's like a boss that is pulsing AoE damage, and you're just going to have 15% avoidance... again, if you keep this if Whirling Steel doesn't have like an ICD or something like that, that's a lot of value. The other option here is Predictive Training, which says when you dodge or parry an attack, reduce damage taken by 10% for the next 6 seconds. So this is a Brewmaster thing, obviously, or Windwalker PvP thing, not something you'll take as Windwalker ever otherwise. And in some cases, that may be more valuable than Whirling Steel as well, because... unlike Whirling Steel, Whirling Steel is only going to reduce your physical damage taken. Predictive Training is actually going to reduce your magic damage taken as well, as long as you've dodged or parried an attack within the last 6 seconds. So that's, 10% DR as well. That's a lot of damage reduction. That is a lot of damage reduction. Against All Odds says, Flurry Strikes increase your agi by 1% for 6 seconds, stacking up to 20 times. So after you do your Flurry Strikes, you're going to have... you're going to have potentially 20% agi or, less depending on how many you're going to do there. But I guess hopefully you're not actually hitting all the way up to 20, right? Hopefully, because if you're hitting and going over 20 ever, you're losing value if you go over 20, right? So, but every time you proc your Flurry Strikes, you get a little 6-second agi amp. Okay. Efficient Training says energy spenders deal an additional 15% damage. Every 50 energy spent reduces the cooldown of Storm Earth and Fire, Serenity, and Weapons of Order by 1 second. I guess that's nice. I don't know. This kind of cooldown reduction here, depending on the build, sometimes it's annoying to desync these effects, but often you're just pressing these things on cooldown, so you're going to be reasonably happy there. And finally, we have Vigilant Watch. Blackout Kick deals an additional 20% critical damage and increases the damage of your next set of Flurry Strikes by 10%. Now, I wonder if that's stacking. Like, I wonder if you can press 3 blackout kicks and get 30% more damage on your next set of flurry strikes, or if it's just kind of as long as you press 1 blackout kick between your flurry strikes, you're fine. Or if it's a short-term buff and you have to manage, like, hey, I'm about to do my flurry strikes, therefore I should blackout kick. That would be the least good of those options, I think, gameplay-wise. But yeah, we'll have to see how that actually ends up being worked out. Either way, this talent tree strikes me as a reasonably fun one. I would say I'm actually pretty excited to play this talent tree because, you know, the flurry charge is proccing, probably going to be pretty fun, and you don't have to do any weird stuff here. You're not getting any new buttons at all. You're not getting any of your buttons converted into anything else. You're just getting stuff, right? It's like, hey, I'm attacking my target, doing what I want to do anyways, and sometimes I'm getting these flurry strikes, and I get these cool Wisdom of the Wall effects. And maybe I can play around those if I'm doing super high-end content, and I can, like, optimize for that. But also, I don't have to worry about it at all because all this stuff is just passively making me better. And I think that's going to work out really well. I think Shado-Pan was one of the hero talent trees that I think was in the highest, like 10%, maybe 20% in terms of like flavor. Definitely, I mean, compared to Master of Harmony and Conduit of the Celestial, Shado-Pan, at least to me, was like, oh yeah, that's neat. I know what those are. Like, that's cool. That deserves to be a hero talent tree. And I think it's done a reasonably good job here of living up to that as well. I will say the immediately upon reading Overwhelming Flurry, I wasn't happy with the fact that, like, you're having to deal damage equal to your max HP because of those 2 reasons why that's going to be way more fun for Windwalker than for Brewmaster, right? Dealing more damage and having less max HP. So that is something I'm a little bit unhappy about, I would say, about this tree, but I haven't played it yet. Obviously, maybe it's totally fine when you actually do play it. Anyways, that is the end of this quick look at the Shado-Pan tree. Hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think of it down in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.